Man, do we have an episode for you. I have a mother, a wife, a daughter. She is a fighter, a survivor, and a conqueror. She kicked cancer's A double hockey sticks. Let's give a warm jabroni welcome to Rebecca Balkcom.
All right.
Yeah.
What the hell do I know? I'm just JB, middle-aged dad with ADD. Candid combos, jokes so lame, jabronis pulling a poker face. Just a couple of dudes with ADD. What the hell do I know? With JB.
Choo!
We are back.
Back at
Episode
it.
number 41. I am so
Double hockey
excited.
sticks are L's, right? Not S's.
I don't know how it goes. You're right. Oh, that's HE double
Yeah.
hockey sticks.
She kicked
Is it
all.
like- is it? She kicked all.
Yeah, that's
She
how
kicked
it
all
kinda
of it.
works,
She
yeah.
kicked all of it.
She kicked the
all of it.
whole area,
You're
yeah.
right. Is
All
it
of it.
crooked letter? Is that what it
Yes.
should have been? It should have been crooked letter. That's so good. I'm like a $10 podcast. What more do you want from me? Yeah. Hey, Danielle, could you turn down just my mic just a hair?
Yeah, he's
bit?
yelling at us,
I do
dude.
feel
It is
like I'm yelling.
very
That's
loud.
now too low.
You sound great
Too low.
over
Does
here.
that sound good on you? Yeah. all
Like
right.
butter.
Just double check my mic. I know
$9.
$9. $9.50 now. Yeah, that feels good. But man, I'm so excited, Rebecca, to have you here.
Oh,
I am.
thanks
Man,
for having
I've
me.
really wanted to bring you on for a long time. You were on a friend of ours podcast, and it was so stinking good. I'll give her a shout out, Soul Hype Cindy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so good. And I was so moved by yours. I thought, man, we got to get her on the jabroni couch.
Sounds good.
And get you in our living room and talk to you because I think you just got a great story, and we're going to dive into it.
Can't wait.
But before we dive into it, I do need to welcome all of my viewers and tell you how much we appreciate you being a part of this journey. It means the world to us. Everybody that comments and likes and subscribes, man, it means so much. And I want to welcome you to our floors.com studio. That's FLOOR.
Double Z.
Double Z, baby. Double Z.
Hockey sticks. I mean, this guy. There's a bunch of hockey sticks, I guess.
She kicked all of cancer's butt. I said it right.
Yes.
I said it right.
She did.
It was
I'll take
all of
that.
Cancer's butt. But yeah, Floors is your one-stop shop. Can we redo that? No. Floors is your one-stop shop for your next flooring or wall covering remodel or new build. Make sure you go to floors.com for sure. They'll take care of you. Tell them Jabroni sent you. If you've got a government ID, you get 5%.
5%.
5%. You get a little government ID. It's like first responders, teachers, military. You know what? You know if you've got this government ID, you know you got it.
I've already made 50 grand from bootlegging it.
That's exactly.
So, yeah,
right.
we're up.
Like,
We're doing pretty good.
I stole my brother's government ID. I went on.
Yep.
I bought a ton of floors. And I went
We
out,
resold it, yeah.
I resold it.
You got to. It's
the
such
right
good
price.
deals.
Oh, and I did it tax free then.
Yeah.
So it was great. Oh yeah. No tariffs on the stuff.
Yeah.
I sold.
No
Tear-free.
tear flooring.
Tear-free floors.
For now. We'll see.
But Rebecca, it is now, because we want to get to know you a little bit better before we get in our journey, and it is now time for you to play What the Hell Do I Know with Rebecca Balkcom.
Uh-oh.
So 7 questions.
This sounds scary.
It's not. It does.
We have scary music that we
do.
normally play
do.
over.
Normally it's spooky. It's like Halloween. So what we're gonna do though is I want to we're gonna put a clock on 7 questions, rapid succession. No gotcha questions. They're all cool. If you need to pass, no worries. Okay. So here we go. Let's put the clock on. All right. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Beast of Burden.
Oh, she actually had it answered.
Oh, man.
I didn't know.
Number 2. What is the last show you binge watched?
The Pit.
Okay. All right. Number 3. What is your guilty pleasure song?
Lately Shaka Khan.
Yes. Texting or talking on the phone?
Texting.
Yeah, for sure. We're 21st century. Number 5. What is something you believed as a kid that turned out totally false? I had time to think about it.
I guess that adults know everything and have all the answers.
Yeah,
That's good. That's a good one. That's actually a really good one. Number 6. Go-to fast food order.
Chick-fil-A chicken wrap with honey mustard on the side.
Nice.
Okay.
Jesus chicken, baby. Number 7. We all have nicknames. If you had to give yourself a nickname, what would it be?
My nickname in high school was Becca.
Okay. All right. No,
like
that's
it.
good. Yeah.
like
You are now off the hot seat.
All right.
All right, that was
You did
easy.
great. You did
The
great.
jeweler.
Super easy. You crushed that. Juice, would you have been ready for the karaoke?
Well, no, because I've never karaoke in my life.
No?
But the other
Oh,
one
we're
you
gonna-
got her with was
We're
the
gonna- we're
the
going to
fifth question. What was the fifth question?
What is something you believed as a kid that turned out?
Oh yeah, that was, I was like, holy moly, I don't even know.
That's
But that
easy.
was a great answer. She
Swimming.
said,
Quicksand.
"Oh, swimming. You didn't have to swim."
That is an easy one.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Like, as a kid,
Yeah.
didn't we all believe like there was
Yeah.
cartoons and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the Brady Bunch?
The Brady Bunch,
Like, went to
quicksand.
Hawaii. Like this is a real danger in my
Yeah.
life.
I
I,
used to-
gotta watch out for that
I used to walk
quicksand.
around in the woods with rope. I would walk around
Oh,
in the
my
woods with rope.
goodness.
Just in case you fell
Just in case you
to
fell
that
in quicksand.
quicksand.
No.
That's
what
a
about
danger I thought was real.
30 minutes. You need 30
To
minutes.
swim,
to
yeah.
swim,
Swim.
right?
Oh, man.
That
Yeah,
one.
that's
That
a-
one. I mean,
That was
Oh,
dumb.
right,
that
right.
was all about
After
adults
eating.
wanting swim time,
Yeah.
right?
I was a lifeguard though, so that's actually
You think it's true?
well, you could get a cramp and you could kind of
You can't.
So it could happen.
I don't know.
It could happen.
Throw up.
You know, and as we're
Throw up
getting
in the pool.
as we're getting to know you better, and your husband's here in studio with us, and what there's this great song. It's a country song, and it says it's this girl, and she comes from great bloodline and went to probably the best university ever known on the planet, which was the University of Georgia.
Georgia? Yeah,
She
okay.
wrote this. She
Go.
wrote this song that says, "I wear Tennessee orange for him." And I'm not a big fan of the song, but it does sell. It's quite frankly, it shows her great love to wear that. And I know that you went to the University of Tennessee.
Yes, go
Now,
balls.
Do you wear red for him?
Never.
So you
Ah, what?
Only orange.
Get out.
You're already married though. I'm not trying to get him.
did you wear red for him?
Never.
How
No.
did you guys meet? Because it wasn't at a football game, evidently.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, we met later in life, I guess.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had moved here from Nashville and he had moved here from Asheville where he lived before. And we met kayaking on Western Lake. He was my kayaking guide and I was doing press trips. And
So is that professional?
Is that legal?
Is
Yeah,
that
that's
even
what I was going
legal?
to
I
ask.
feel like he's in a position of power.
that's just
Yeah.
how we
He
met.
took advantage of it,
That's
yeah.
just how we met.
Matt.
That's just how you met. Yeah, but then what happened? I mean, he's like, "Hey, would you like another kayak lift?"
No. Then we saw each other at the Red Bar at Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes,
And it
okay.
was,
Red Bar.
And it was who was the
Pre-burned
band?
down Red Bar.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're
Red Bar.
talking dollar bills are holding it up at the
Right.
time.
Yeah. We've lived here for a long time. So and this was back when there were like 20 locals. So it wasn't hard to
okay.
meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The good
awesome.
days.
What a great, the good.
I
days.
miss those
good old
days.
days.
You could
Yeah.
park in front of the Red Bar, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could just pull right up.
You're right. That's so cool. So you met again. You're like, you were my kayak instructor. What's his line?
I think
You don't know? Did he have a line?
I don't think he had a line. He
Okay.
didn't really have game.
Oh, what?
This is going
Oh.
out. You're so lucky that nobody watches this.
Oh, I would like to bring out the husband right now. Bring him out. Let's see him.
Well, he had some sort of game.
Yeah, he did. I think it was just he would just say it was meant to be. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it was just meant to be.
When
And
did you know? How soon did you know? Like, this is the one.
I think we both knew pretty quickly. I think we both,
Right.
and we took some time getting to know each other.
Well, you said you were older. I mean, I'm not going to put an age on it, but let's say it was mid-20s or like mid-30s.
I was mid-30s.
Oh, so wow,
and
okay.
he had just turned 40.
He's a little. So you guys really were older then.
We were a lot older.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were old. And now we're really old.
That's not every day I get older. I just turned 48, so every day I get older, I feel older. So I'm not putting that on you. But I mean, traditionally though, like my wife and I met when we were 15 and 17. So I mean, I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to meet my person.
So
that
true.
early, right?
So true.
So, traditionally, I think people are meeting, and especially as you're seeing the next generations meeting people longer and older in life. I just think if you could kiss a lot less frogs, your life could be a lot easier. But
Yeah,
sometimes
I
you
think
have to
we
go
both
through 'em,
kissed
right?
a lot of frogs before.
Yeah,
But you know what I think is neat is, as you do get older, you get to know yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both we're really comfortable with who we are and who we were at that time. And we kind of had some life experiences. So I think it was more about timing.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of,
Do you feel like you built some communication skills, like the do's and don'ts in that world, up a little bit better? And then, because I know that seemed to be for us in our first period of marriage, like years 1 through 7, 1 through 8, 1 through 9, heck, year 25. I mean, you're learning how to communicate better, right? That's one of the biggest rubs, I feel like, in relationships sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I
Do you
guess.
feel like you started off maybe understanding like some do's and don'ts, or did you still feel like you have to learn how to communicate with Murray better?
No, I feel like in the beginning it doesn't even count because you're in love, and so it's not really
He couldn't
real.
say anything wrong.
Right, it's true.
Everything he does is wonderful.
Yeah, I thought he was perfect, and so I feel like you learn different communication skills for different stages you go through.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We've both gone through within our marriage different stages, and we've had to kind of adapt. Not just with the cancer, but I mean, we've both been through things, and that's just life. So I think you, as a couple, and as partners within the couple, you have to adapt and kind of evolve, I guess.
No, I think you're right. I mean, the more you can lean into each other, and the more you can, again, learning. I mean, I heard somebody say it one time. It's probably a marriage deal that Danielle and I took years ago, back when we were early married. Now we're experts, But I'm just water off the bag now. But there was somebody said, like, the first 10 years of marriage, you're trying to figure out how to get rid of all your selfishness, right? It's the idea that because you grow up, it's all about you. And everything is kind of designed about you, and then so you get rid of that, and then the next 10 years you start learning, how do I live for this other person, right? You realize I want to live for my spouse, and vice versa, and so you get through that, and then if you can make it past that 20 years, and you get after that, then you're almost like in this rhythm, this magical rhythm that life
Can't
starts
wait for
to
that.
have, right? Well, here's the problem with our society is everybody relives. They get divorced at like the average like 7 years, right? And they just relive this hardest part of marriage and learning how to communicate with other people.
Haven't got to the good.
It's amazing.
They never get.
They never learn. It's crazy.
They never get to that
Right.
That like that 25-year coasting world where I know what she likes. She knows what I like or don't like.
Yeah, well, and I think what buttons not to push.
Right.
I'm just sort of like, like there's a saying, it's like, would you rather be right or would you rather be at peace? So
That's a good one.
sometimes I'm like, is it really worth? I mean, I know I'm always right. But is it,
We all are.
or he would say
Here
he's
we
all
go.
right. He's always right. But is it worth it, to have that argument? So
A pastor friend of mine was counseling a couple one time, and he didn't tell me their names because that would have been wrong on him, right? But he said that this lady was complaining all the time about her husband leaving like socks everywhere, or whatever, or whatever it was, all the time. He wouldn't have stopped. She just nag. Now this wasn't the brunt of their issue, but she just always had these problems, and then eventually he left. And so he was counseling her, and she said, what I wouldn't give to see his socks laying on the floor.
oh yeah.
So like sometimes like there were probably bigger issues and they need to work through it and all that. I'm sure it wasn't about socks on the floor, but it is to his point was kind of like, sometimes you've got to let the small things, right? You got to learn, like you said, do you want to be right?
Well, and I think when we both, went through some big things right off the bat when we got married. I mean, we had kids immediately.
Well, yeah.
And we were older.
Yeah,
So we didn't date for 10 years. And,
Right.
So we were hit with just, I mean, we had 2 kids, 15 months apart, 2 kids in diapers.
Yeah.
We didn't really have time to.
Was that a plan?
No.
Did somebody tell you can't get pregnant right after the first one?
I wish someone had told me how easy it was.
Health classes weren't the same back then.
I think we were both like, oh my gosh, we just didn't even
You weren't even
know
thinking about
what
it.
we were in. And Murray used to say
It's like Irish twins.
it
that
is
crazy.
And he used to say he felt like we were like the president who goes into office and looks really like great, and then in a very short 4 years
comes out.
looking really old. He said that's how he felt we were. And it's true.
Is so good.
We came out of that after our youngest turned 4, and we were like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
That is so good. That is such a great. I can remember that. I mean, I was just talking the last episode about how we knew when we were going to get out of diapers. I mean, in fact, our last one, Danielle was kind of telling me before even birth of our last one. She said, "Listen, I found you a doctor. Here's the appointment.
Yeah.
We're getting this done before she comes out. We are done." So, because she was just every 2 years, for our kids. Now you have 2 boys, right?
A boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl. Okay, and you were telling me earlier, 14 and 13. No,
12 and 13. So our son.
I was so off. Yeah, that's my.
Yeah, our son Lake is 12 and a half, and our daughter is. Our son is 13 and our daughter is 12.
12. Okay. Perfect. Wow, that's amazing. And so how did you get down to this area? I mean, are you from Tennessee?
I'm from Tennessee.
What part?
So I'm from a small town called Livingston.
Yeah, I've heard
and
Livingston.
it's between Nashville and Knoxville.
Ah, okay.
Or it's on the Cumberland Plateau. So
Probably
a lot
beautiful,
of people,
yeah.
It's beautiful. A lot of people are familiar with Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, so it's about 20 minutes from there.
I used to have an apartment complex I say apartment complex, it's student housing that Danielle and I owned there in Knoxville.
Oh, yeah.
We charge those people a lot more.
Yeah, well, Knoxville's God's country. Shame on you.
We charge those folks a lot more. But that's a cool, so small town, like what do you think the population is there? 4,000. Oh my goodness. Wow.
4,000 people, so super
Your family
small.
Still live there?
My family still lives there, and I love going home. We have like a town square. One of my good friends from high school has a beautiful little shop on the square, and it's just, to me, it's picturesque. It's like the Hallmark town.
That's awesome.
They ever did any movies there?
There was a movie made there, and it was back in the 60s. Gregory Peck and Tuesday Welk, and it was called
I kind of remember
How
that.
High is the Mountain or something.
Okay,
and it was filmed close to where I grew up.
Really? Very cool.
I grew up on a farm. So
you go to University of Tennessee, then you decide, like, how, again, I want to know how you come to this great Emerald Coast, what brings you this way?
Well, I grew up coming here on vacation with my family. My parents, when we would drive through Seaside, and it was just dunes. There was nothing. And that was back in the early 80s and 70s, I guess.
Right.
And so I grew up coming here, and I moved to Nashville after I graduated from college. And I worked for City Magazine. Worked there for 10 years. I was busy. I led a very vibrant, busy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I just burned out. And I think it's really interesting to kind of have that crossroads that early in your life.
Yeah.
But I had that, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live here. I felt like I could, if I kept doing the same thing, I could almost see my life the way it was.
You knew where it was headed.
I knew where it was headed, and I wanted to get off the hamster wheel.
Wow.
And it was really, looking back, I can't believe that I took a risk and did what I did, not really knowing how it would turn out.
I think it's great. I tell young people all the time, like, you could lose your entire 20s trying to figure things out and then get a real job.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
Just don't expect for mom and dad to pay for it during your 20s, right? So that's the only thing. But you can try to figure out, because that's the time to take your risk, right? Once you start having the kids and you start having the mortgages, and your risks become a lot more calculated.
That's right. So I didn't have kids, and I thought I'll sell my house and I'll quit my job, and I hired my replacements for my position, and I decided to move to an area I loved, and I thought I'm going to give myself a year just to kind of let the dust settle and decompress, and if I hate it, I'll just move back or I'll move somewhere else. And I fell in love with the area immediately.
Right, and you've been doing kind of PR work and
Marketing, PR.
and you've done a lot. I've seen you wrote articles on the 30A, and you've really been involved in the community for a long time. So how long do you think you've been in this area?
I have been here a little over 18 years.
Oh my goodness, yeah, you're like crazy local at this point.
Crazy local. There are very few
washed out local.
There are very few real locals before me,
and feel like if you hit that 9 to 10 years range, plus, you're local.
Well, and it's interesting because when I never imagined that I would meet my husband here, and we would raise a family. And when we started a family here, we didn't realize how the community was going to grow up around us and be this amazing place that it is today to raise a family.
True.
We didn't anticipate that.
18 years ago to now. And I mean, the shopping we have here, the restaurants we have here, the schools we have here. I mean, they just built a new stadium there at South Walton.
Right.
We had the sheriff on a few. In fact, I do need to pause real quick and tell you, Juice and Bmoney and myself are wearing shirts. These shirts are, if you go back to episode, I think it was 38. We did with the sheriff, and this is for our fallen Officer William May. Deputy William May, that was tragically killed April 2nd of 2025. These shirts actually went, and we talked about that in the show, but these shirts actually support his family, so we're just continuing to support our community. And
that's wonderful.
This is kind of part of it. That's the community we have, is supporting each other. It really is great.
Well, and I think what's interesting is when I did move here, I saw something in the community that I grew up with, and I saw that small town spirit. It wasn't just that we lived at the beach, and yes, it's beautiful, but I could see that it was a community that neighbors helping neighbors, people, doing meal trains, and it is a really, even as it's grown, I feel like it's such a tight-knit community.
It really is. That's a really good point.
That's a great point.
You have surgery, you're going to have 13 casseroles at your front door. It's incredible.
It's so true.
There's casseroles coming out your
even if you tried to hide, like the first few years, I mean, I was working, traveling to all the states, doing different things, and we just felt like we didn't know anybody. But when things were going on in our lives, it was crazy. I mean, we lived in a Sandestin bubble when we first moved here. We lived in Burnt Pine and Sandestin, and I met Brandon out swimming in the ocean. And we were trying to figure out, we're going to play bridge every day, or could we find people our age?
And then we had kids.
You start discovering it. And you become friends with folks, and before long, like we didn't even have family down. We're like, we're going to do like the first like Mother's Day or something at our house. Remember that? And we had chicken. And next thing you know, it's like 10 people were showing up, and like 15
and all the kids click.
And then all the kids
it was
click.
that small town feel.
It does. It gives you gives you a small town feel. It sure does. I mean, that is such a great point, Rebecca.
We live in a special place. It really.
Well, and I also think, I want to add one thing to that. I think at the time I moved here, a lot of the people who moved to the area from other places, they moved with the intention of leaving maybe a lifestyle, like they lived in a city, they wanted to get out of a career that was exhausting.
Right.
So you have a lot of people who are like-minded in their intention to move here.
That's actually a really good point.
So they want to embrace, like they really love it. They didn't just happen to land here.
And when you decide to come here, you sell Brandon was telling me when he left Indiana, he just determined that was the last snow. He was
right. Yeah, right. He brought it here, dude. This dude.
He's been here like 10 years.
Right.
But he was like, I am done.
I'm done.
Right? I'm done with this. I'm not going to be here anymore. And you sold everything. He said he had like yards. Come over to the house and buy.
We sold a deep freeze.
Yeah.
With probably a quarter of a cow in it. With the meat. The neighbor just unplugged it. We wheeled it over to his house, and he plugged it in his garage.
Isn't that
great? I had where am I going to put it?
Burned all the bridges.
I
mean, just destroyed all the relationships he had.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like, he can never go back.
What do they say? Burn the boats.
Burn the bridge.
I can tell you this. If you move to the Emerald Coast, you will find more friends and family than you could ever imagine, because they will come visit.
That's so true.
They will come and visit you.
That's so true. Unless you have kids who are preteens.
So you had all that going on. In fact, I want to show up. Do we have a picture of? We've got a picture of your family here, because you did create a great family here. There they are. there's a picture of your family there that we've got up there, and I think that's from Thanksgiving. So you got
Yes.
your kids up there. That's awesome. So
Thank you.
that was just this last Thanksgiving, but what a great thing to have.
Oh, you took that
a
picture on
family.
my birthday.
But so you're forging right along. Things are doing well, and then I mean, kind of, I want to dive in like to this cancer story, and that's kind of why we're here. But I still like to get to know my folks.
No,
And
it's-
of course,
Yeah.
it's great to get to continue to get to know you. Like I said, we worked together on some other projects, but tell me a little bit about that that story to get to that diagnosis, because I know a little bit of it.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. And I was talking to someone today, a girlfriend who is having kind of a journey with back pain. And I think I'm so scarred from what I went through that I told, anytime someone tells me I'm having this severe back pain, I'm like, oh my gosh.
like a trigger.
It is. And I'm like, please, go get an MRI. Not that every person with back pain is going to have the diagnosis I did, but that is definitely how it started for me. And I thought that it was that I just injured my back.
Right.
And
But how long did that go on for? So you, at some point, you wake up and you've got severe back pain, or does it start out small and then get big?
it started out smaller. I knew, I'd definitely done something to my back. And then it got progressively worse. But as it got worse, so did my pain tolerance got higher. Because what happens
That's
is...
the female side of you.
It is. It is women, you adapt, you adjust, you mix the Tylenol and the Advil just so, and you're never without it, and you have the ice packs. And, I felt like I could manage it. But I will say this, there were some times I thought, this pain is so intense, I feel like I need to go to the ER. And I didn't. And
Now, what was your husband saying during this time? I mean, because or do you feel like you're managing it in your head more, or you're verbalizing it as well?
there were times I was verbalizing it. I mean, I think we were both just trying to get through it. Like, what is going on? Make an appointment. I did go see an orthopedic surgeon. I went to physical therapy. I went to a chiropractor. I went to, my urgent care. And then life just keeps happening.
How long do you think that was?
2 years.
2
2 years and nobody even thought to.
2 years.
Did you
MRI.
have something in the back of your mind saying anything at all like cancer, or something in that,
Yes, because another local girl, a woman who I know, had recently she had back pain,
Okay.
and her son and my son are the same age, and I knew, small town.
Yeah.
It turned out that it was cancer, and I was at lunch with some girlfriends, and I said, "What if my back pain is cancer?" And they were like, "Oh, Rebecca, there's no way that your back pain is cancer." Well, of course you're going to say that, because what are the odds, right?
Right.
And I'm so careful now not to say that to people, or to say just go to the chiropractor, or just go. You really don't know.
Yeah.
And and there were, symptoms didn't all happen at once. So there were other symptoms, but they started adding up over the years. It's not like everything hit at once. So it was hard to put the pieces of that puzzle together.
Could you get relief without pharmaceuticals, without medicine?
Well,
there things that brought relief? Only because I've dealt with this for 4 years with severe back pain.
that's interesting. I'm sorry.
But mine, I've had the MRIs, I've had the surgeries.
Right.
Mine came from an accident.
Okay.
So, but I lost a friend to sarcoma, and it started with lower back pain and down her leg. She didn't think, she's like, I'm in my 40s. You got back pain.
Right, exactly.
You're in your 40s, you got back pain.
I'm sorry. I hate to hear that about your friend, and then I'm sorry you dealt with back pain also.
Yeah.
I think after you go through that kind of pain, you wouldn't wish that on anyone.
There's a level of pain where you're laying at night and you don't want to wake up anybody, but it is so excruciating. All you can do is just sit there and cry, or try to get
true.
a hot shower or something.
Well, and that's something that I have since learned, is that when you're in that level of pain, you can't really verbalize, hey, this is what I need. let's pull the car around, take me to the ER. You were just trying to survive that pain.
To the next minute.
To the next
I've been
minute.
there.
And the only thing that I did was I would mix probably lethal amounts of Advil, Aleve, and Tylenol.
I was 16 ibuprofen, 1800 gabapentin, Oxycontin,
Yeah.
and I couldn't kill it. I couldn't kill the pain.
Well, and my oncologist later told me, he said the kind of pain you had to have been enduring, you should have been in the hospital hooked up to morphine.
Wow. Jeez.
But I would put ice on it, and I just wouldn't be caught without my Tylenol and Advil. And I think I just built up such a pain tolerance that
You do after a while.
You do. It becomes your norm until you just don't notice it as much, I guess. I don't know.
Brandon,
I'm in pain right now. I can't sit very long.
Yeah, he gets so tough, and it's weird because, and I know this since this accident he was in.
I hate that.
And it's so bad, and we just, there's times he'll look at me like, dude, I'm just standing up.
I gotta walk.
Stand up. I gotta walk around or whatever.
It's just so intense. You just gotta do anything.
It's.
I
really
couldn't
tough.
sit. I would go to restaurants, and I would either have to take a cushion or I would have to just stand.
I go to Tommy Bahama because you can stand at the bar and not look weird.
Right.
You don't realize how much you sit down, driving, church, restaurants, work. You sit all the time and try not to sit. Like, it is tough. And it's socially weird not to sit.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think, the onset of the back pain, I never really imagined that it was what it was.
But mine's not cancer. We know that.
Thank God,
Yeah.
But with that said, my cancer was treatable. And the back pain went away.
Yeah.
People who have chronic pain, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I used to say, well, how bad can it be? Just take an Advil. Until you have chronic pain. Now I empathize so much with somebody. You can almost see it on their face.
Yes,
without them even saying anything, you can say, how you doing today?
It changes your face.
Yeah, your emotions. I was on edge. I've been on edge for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I have good days and bad days.
Well, and it also, I think, drains you. Like if you have a bad night or you have to recover.
I can only hang out with him like every third day.
I'd be at Jason's house and we'd be there. I'm like, I gotta lay down on your couch. It's gonna be so
And you
weird,
do
but
look weird standing at Tommy Bahama.
does.
Yeah, you still look weird.
Yeah, we look weird
I'm saying.
We look weird everywhere.
That's cool. I mean, I don't care. Yeah.
I still put up with him. Brandon's like my Labrador. Honestly, he puts on
He does good, yeah.
got a great attitude. I just know he's
But I know
always
that
dealing with this.
I know that 2 o'clock in the morning where there's nothing you can do.
No, he had a drunk driver hit him into a car, like hit him.
I was standing on the road and he hit the door. And
Actually, the door
smashed.
into him and like smashed him in the door.
So it's
and
been
then-
a 4-year journey.
it's
Was
like-
that here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a 4-level fusion in my neck and then the lower back. I had the surgery, but now it's better. Like, this is amazing that I can sit here for an hour.
Right.
No, I'm no ibuprofen. I've weaned off of everything.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
But we've been praying for like that iRobot thing with Musk or something. We just
Neuralink.
We take his Neuralink.
But
and we
what's
put
going to
him in
happen in
another
10 years?
body
I
or
don't know.
something
So
like that.
I can, like I said, I can totally empathize. You can spot pain differently once you've gone through it.
Well, yeah,
at
you
a high
see-
level.
Yeah, and you just don't want you don't want to see anybody go through that kind of
No,
pain.
yeah.
And I didn't consider taking pain pills because I am in recovery and not from pills, but
right.
I just didn't
It's
go
just all
there.
that.
That Oxy Road is slippery.
I just didn't want to go there. It just wasn't an option. In hindsight, that level of pain,
It works. But
You need to be. You need to
you
have
need more.
You do,
Right,
but
right.
No,
I had Danielle's mother had stage 4 lung cancer, and she was 55 when she passed away, and she was diagnosed. My father-in-law passed away at 57. Suddenly had a blood clot go to his lungs, and 3 days before Christmas he passed away. Then 6 months later she was diagnosed with lung cancer, but they thought she had all this bone pain, And so she would go to this doctor, and the doctor was just kind of like, well, he'd prescribe her some kind of medication, but then she'd go back, and this is just not touching it. He was like, the first doctor accused her of being an addict.
Oh my
with
God.
my wife in the room, and my wife was like, just went off because she was like, dude, this is my mother. I have grown up with you. You don't call my mother an addict. Something's wrong here.
Right.
And so that's when it was like this pain, even the narcotics isn't touching the pain that she needed. And of course, when the cancer doctors came in, they were like, oh yeah, we need to pipe you in a drip.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. That cancer, you don't realize like how much that can go. But so I want to ask you, so when you were going 2 years into this, you're figuring it out. I mean, you finally, like, what was the deciding moment that I need to see somebody different than an orthopedic? I need to go into that world.
Sure. I did a book study once a week with a group of women, and we would do a different workbook every year. And we were currently in the middle of this workbook, and we would meet, and we met at this coffee shop, and I couldn't sit the whole time. I would have to stand. And they would watch me, and they were concerned. They knew me really well. They were concerned. And one of the questions was that we were on was, what is your biggest fear? What's something you can't let go of? And I answered very honestly, and I said, I'm really afraid to go to the doctor. And I'm afraid to really go to the doctor, not just go and, get a prescription for the flu or whatever. Right. And so they said, we're going to call you every 30 minutes after we leave until you make your doctor's appointment.
So these women.
That's good friends.
And that book study.
Here in the Emerald Coast.
Here in the Emerald Coast. And that was the moment that I called my primary, who I hadn't seen in many years, as let me go have a physical. And he said, well, I actually had a cancellation tomorrow. So, I mean, and what the situation is like.
Down
and
here.
So I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm going to go.
God thing right there.
So I went, but I didn't go. I basically just went because I was afraid to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. I didn't go because I thought something was horribly wrong. Mm-hmm. I said I have some back pain, but I think it's something between my L4 and my L5.
Like a slipped disc.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, whatever you do, don't have surgery. We're going to get you to physical therapy. Okay. And I just started the road of doing blood work as a... let's just check your body, see what a physical. Yeah. And that's what
so the blood
started.
Work showed up a level that was thrown askewed.
The only thing that showed up in the blood work was that I was severely anemic because the type of cancer I have or had it does not show up in blood work.
Really?
It is extremely difficult to diagnose.
How did they get to that diagnosis?
It was a zigzag.
It's just a journey of doctors.
It was a journey of doctors, and you watch and you can see how people get so lost in, let's see if it's this, let's see if it's that. You wait to make an appointment with a gastroenterologist. You wait to get those results back.
But you're just waiting.
You're waiting, and you're having to rule things out before. They don't know what they don't know.
Did you have a moment where you're like, well, I did these 3 tests and it wasn't that? Like, just say I'm going to stop, but I mean, your back was killing you. Nothing's getting better.
Well, and so what was interesting what happened, and it was definitely a God thing, when I kind of surrendered and said, I'm going to go to the doctor. And I go to the doctor, and I, lost some weight, but I thought it was just because I was, fit and doing cheer. And and I had some back pain. Through ruling out different things, everything came crashing. Like, if I had been going like this, I went on a very swift decline with added symptoms.
Okay.
While I was in that process, so it was like a 3 month.
Like the cancer had progressed a little bit.
It went from growing slowly to I was losing 2 to 3 pounds a day.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
It was terrifying. Yeah. And they're still doing blood work. They're ruling things out, and then lymph nodes started popping out.
Oh wow!
Everywhere.
Wow!
And so
So that starts sending you in the right direction.
You start getting in the right direction. Yeah. But when I would go
Wrong
for these
direction there in the cancer world, but right direction in figuring it out.
But when I would go have tests, like I went to have a colonoscopy because they thought maybe I had an internal, like a GI bleed, and that was why I was anemic. I thought I was going to die just from doing the fast.
Wow.
The prep for the
prep. And I probably was close to dying from doing I had no...
Because it strips you of everything.
That's right.
All your electrolytes are gone.
A couple years ago, I think it was.
That's
strips
right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I'm a, healthy guy.
Yeah.
I hated it.
No, it's a process.
I can't imagine with what
colonoscopy is nothing.
Right. It's not supposed to be. So, I did wonder, why am I, my husband would take me to have blood work, and I would have to sit in the car because I couldn't stand in line to wait for the blood work.
What would you say to somebody that's listening today that's dealing with some pain, has some questions unanswered, is going through, maybe they're in step 1 or 2 of these questions? What do they need to know about that strength to keep searching, and take ownership or something?
I think, a piece of advice that I would give someone that I didn't do because I didn't know to do this is, when you go to see whatever doctor it is, it's a, orthopedic surgeon or your OBGYN, don't discount any symptoms you're having. Mm-hmm. Like you're having night sweats, but you know your night sweats have nothing to do with what's going on because it's menopause. You list every single symptom so that even if it is seemingly irrelevant.
That's smart.
Maybe insomnia, maybe you've lost a lot of weight, but you've also been working out. You just list all the symptoms. Everything.
Don't excuse anything.
And I think we tend to do that in our minds. We say, oh, well, maybe I'm sure I've lost weight, but it's just because of this.
No, I think you're totally right.
And it would at least give them, whomever you're seeing, a fuller picture so they don't have to, put the puzzle pieces together.
Advice. That's really good advice. So you finally get this diagnosis. You like you said, you start kind of tanking. I assume you're at a cancer doctor now, or no?
No, my primary is who finally gave me the diagnosis because he had the lymph nodes biopsied.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so your primary here calls you up, and tells you.
And his wife is a friend of mine.
Okay, so you now know. What do you do with that information? When it hits you like that, you're kind of, do you feel like you're faced with your mortality? Do you feel like, what are the thoughts racing through your mind?
When he told me, not at that moment. Okay. I think when I am faced with a really scary situation, I tend to not feel. Mm-hmm. I go into survival mode, I get tough and how am I going to manage this?
Right.
I don't fall apart until later.
I get that.
And
also possibly your female side of things.
It might be. I just sort of took it and thought, okay, well, what's next?
Which, by the way, if the audience is listening there, when I'm pointing out to her female side of things, because there's strength in it that guys
women can handle pain different. They're built to handle pain differently.
But
they really can.
It wasn't a conscious thing. It's just, I think you kind of soldier up, I wasn't able to fully realize what I was about to go through. And I think you're given that information. I think God allowed you to have that information in increments because there's no way you could emotionally handle that in a 5-minute phone call.
And when you were telling your family, you obviously went to tell Murray and then your kids, how does that unfold when you start talking to your family about it?
Well, with my husband, I didn't want him to know immediately.
Okay.
I just wanted to sit with the information I think I sat with it overnight.
So you just sat with it and you
needed
to process.
I needed to process it. And then with our children, what's interesting about that, we didn't say, hey, your mom has cancer.
How old were they then?
That was 3 years ago. my
So
son would have
backing
been
up
10,
yeah.
and my daughter would have been 9.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 and a half. Is that right?
Something.
They already knew.
Really?
They already.
Kids, man, it's nuts.
They
how much
knew.
They know.
They were terrified
Mm-hmm.
because they were seeing what I couldn't even see myself.
They've been seeing mom standing up. They'd see mom wincing when she sits down.
They were
see
seeing
mom
me.
winces there. Mom, and no other parents are doing this.
That's right. And they're also seeing me go take long naps. And I think they had a sense, I think.
Kids know so much more than you.
So I think they knew. I think we never said this is cancer to them.
Mm-hmm.
We just said, honestly, I don't know what was said. My husband,
He probably handled age
he handled it.
appropriate.
He handled it because I was so sick. I couldn't go to them and say, "Hey, I'm going to be okay," because I didn't know if I was going to be okay. So I think he gave them information in increments. Mom is sick. She's going to have treatment and work on getting better. As I started the chemo, I could almost see the relief in them. Even though I was sick from the chemo, they could tell that I was getting better. It's almost like when you have an answer, it's the unknown is scarier than the solution.
It is.
Yeah.
And
it really is.
And even though, oh my gosh, this is a scary thing, it's not as scary as not knowing what's happening.
Now I can attack it.
That's
now
right.
I can plan.
You can name
Now I
it,
can-
and it's
Now I can Google it.
That's
now I can get after it, right? Now I can get after this thing.
that's right, Dr. Google.
Isn't that almost the worst thing to do, though? Is start Googling it, right?
Well, she's
Isn't
probably
that the
before that you
worst?
probably Googled every symptom you had, right? So,
Right. I mean,
but
that feels
I
like
think
it's not
once I figured out my
recommended.
MRI, like why is this so painful down my leg into my heel? It is excruciating. What is going on? And then you name it. You're like, all right, now how do I kill this thing?
Right.
How do I go after it?
I think the unknown is definitely, and there were increments of unknown. So I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, but we didn't know what stage it was. So we're like, well, maybe it'll just be stage 1 or stage 2.
Because Hodgkin, didn't I hear non-Hodgkin's? Like,
What's the difference?
I don't understand.
So-
I'm not even, I don't understand that.
So it's a blood cancer. They're both blood cancers.
Okay.
And
But they can't be found in the blood? Like they can't be diagnosed in the blood?
that's right. It's the lymph nodes.
It's the lymph nodes.
The lymph nodes.
Which are, you're
like
pointing to your neck, but they're in
But
your
it's
neck.
like a
Lymph nodes
highway.
are everywhere.
It's like a highway in your
Right.
body.
And the lymph node, even though when I had a scan of my lymph node, it showed that it was reactive, which can mean you were recovering from the flu.
Yeah.
And my primary physician decided to go ahead and biopsy it. He was like, I'm just going to be really aggressive. Let's biopsy
I
it.
like
Love
him already.
that. I
So that's
love
the
I like him.
Is he
that's
still your primary?
he retired. He's a hospitalist now
Okay,
at
okay,
Sacred Heart,
okay.
but he was very aggressive
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yep.
But so that's the only way you could truly know. And then they had to stage it.
Okay.
And to stage it, you have a PET scan, and that
Okay.
shows where the cancer is.
Okay.
And depending on where it is, that's what stage it is.
Okay. So where were you on that stage?
I was stage 4,
Wow.
advanced,
Wow.
and it was as bad as it could be.
Holy smoke.
So
It
had
was-
you found that 2 years
But yet
earlier?
it's curable and treatable.
Well, you hope that it responds to chemo.
Okay. So if there's another person, and whether they're listening or not, but that has Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Right.
stage 4, that doesn't mean that the cancer, because everybody's body's different, or
No.
or the treatment's different. Because if super, I mean, I'm like dumbing it down. My audience and you guys are so much smarter than me. But if I'm sick, and have some sort of whatever, I take a Z-Pack for like everything, and it just kills it, right? And
Windex.
like Windex, right? Yeah. But that's not the way it works in the cancer world. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes and no. I mean, what's wonderful about Hodgkin's lymphoma is it's a very set treatment. So if somebody has it, they're like, oh, I got the response, you need to go to MD Anderson. Don't stay here. Go find. And it's not that way with Hodgkin's. It's a very set, formula of chemo depending on what stage it is.
Okay.
And what stage it is not like breast cancer. Stage 4 breast cancer, stage 4 Hodgkin's. Stage 4 simply means where is it in your body?
Okay.
For me, it was everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was in my bones. It was in my bone marrow. It was pretty much head to toe, everywhere.
Wow. And so then I assume you're having a certain cocktail of chemotherapy that they know there's also probably a radiation.
No, with
No.
it was
Just chemo.
just chemo, but it was the big guns.
Yep.
And I was, scared.
What does big guns mean?
Well, there's one part of the chemo. It's a 4 or a 5-part formula, and it's called the Red Devil. And it's red.
Sounds horrible.
It's red. It's red when it goes in. Like
And
you can see
see it red
Yeah.
going in.
and it's bad.
Did your body, when it's coming in, would you feel drained? Would it just, how does that feel when you're getting the red devil going into your blood?
They, I think that they have advanced in so much in the past couple of years. Even they give you a Benadryl through an IV when you sit down in the chair.
So it just helps you just kind of.
Oh, it just knocked me out. It knocked me out. Like I was pretty much slept through
I feel
chemo.
like if you get Benadryl in an IV,
In an IV?
Yeah.
probably
It always puts me to
too,
sleep, dude.
it pretty much
And that's
knocks.
just orally.
Yeah, just taking regular Benadryl. I went
So
to
when
sleep.
it's going in,
not do anything.
Not so much.
The after effect, was there different effects, some nausea, things of that nature?
Yeah.
I remember that was my mother-in-law when she started doing the radiation chemo, and she was stage 4, and they told her there's no cure for what she had, but that if she went the standard route of treatment, there was the protocol, and we went to Emory, and then she went to MD Anderson, all the different places, but that it was just essentially going to be prolonging her life, not
Right.
there's no cure for it. But she would just drain, like whether it's radiation or if it's chemo, because there's radiation on bone with it being in bone cancer and in her lungs and all that. And at any rate, the one thing that changed her disposition is, everybody has like that crazy uncle or the crazy cousin. So that crazy cousin would send her these pot brownies, and
From
that
Colorado?
he made them in Tennessee.
Oh, the hymns.
all right.
The great hymns.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.
She would eat a pot brownie, and we would have some of the best discussions because she moved in and lived with us. Remember my father-in-law passed away, and they were
Yeah.
sweethearts and grew up together and all that. So it was devastating grief that she had, and then 6 months later she's getting diagnosed and then going through this pain. So she moved in with us, but she would eat a pot brownie, and we would just have some of the best times
Sure.
talking and laughing. But
Yeah.
but it kind of took her pain away. But then her mind was able to just kind of release
Sure.
a little bit, from all of the stress and all that. It's one of the biggest reasons why I've been a proponent for, especially medical cannabis. I think there's so many things.
It does help with
that things
oncology
can
patients.
help. Yeah,
It's such a big
drastically.
difference.
Well,
yeah.
so absolutely. So, when I started the treatment, my oncologist said, "Okay, you're not going to be a hero. You've got to, you're going to have to take certain medications." And the oxy, they gave me such a low dose, and the side effects are not really worth it.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
So
right.
I didn't do that, but in the beginning, I had cancer pain, chemo pain. I was nauseous, and I had no appetite. And
Yeah.
the steroids keep you from sleeping.
That's right.
So the steroids are almost worse than the actual chemo.
Right.
And the one thing that worked was the medical.
Cannabis.
And now I had a prescription. It was like in a pill
Yeah.
from Publix.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah, 'cause
it
they have a THC like a
dispensary or a
but there's medically
it starts with an M.
Yeah, but it's basically a manufactured THC. It's
Yeah.
not from
Yeah.
the plant, but it has similar.
It's prescribed in
similar
all
effects.
50 states.
Yes,
Right.
similar effects. All 50 states have it. That's right.
So in
I
the
still recommend
beginning,
the grass, though.
in the beginning, it was the one thing I could not believe. it addressed every
That's-
single single pain,
right.
and then it would allow me to sleep, and then it would wear off without like a side effect or a
You're
feeling.
not hungover, you're not all these
Right.
other things, and you have an appetite, you're nauseous, sleep. all
and
that,
I
yeah.
did, as I progressed in the chemo, very quickly, the cancer, it took care of the cancer, and I didn't have the
Wow.
cancer pain, so I didn't really need
Yeah.
the THC pills,
No,
but the chemo worked very quickly.
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
I,
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
awesome.
think that's amazing. So how long was the chemo? Did you have to go on chemo then? Do you
I think I did 12 infusions over 6 months.
Okay.
So it was two
Wow.
infusions
That's
a month.
crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, every 2 weeks.
Is that?
But it felt
are you
like
Are you like a case study for Hodgkin's lymphoma or?
no. I think my oncologist was very pleased with
Yeah.
how,
I would think so too.
and I think it's called the melt away effect. When it works, it just
It just knocks it out.
It knocks it out. But
and that's not everybody's story.
I don't
they
think-
can take the same cocktail and it may not.
Gotta be genetics or something.
It's gotta be
yeah.
something else.
I don't
Do
know.
you think
to
it's
it.
These
do you think
chemos have got
attitude
really
plays
good.
into it? Do you think, is there anything that the person could do that would help?
People would say that, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if you've got to stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't believe that, because there are people who are so sick that there is no way they can be
Mm-hmm. Right,
positive. I mean,
right.
if it
Fair.
and it's almost impossible to telling someone to have a great attitude while they're going through chemo, and come on.
I mean, that's honestly, you had such
That's
a
impossible. I mean,
talking with you is so good because we have all these platitudes. I mean, what
Yeah.
are the things that we should not say? So
Yeah,
looking outside, looking in, what are some of the things that people said that you were like, and we won't name any names unless you want to.
No, let's do it. I always like throwing people under the bus. Let's name some names.
Juice wants to know.
I wanna know.
Some names.
And addresses.
But things, things that people might have said that would, because we do it all the time. I mean, I had a buddy on that lost his son,
Yeah.
and
I
he would
s- I
say, yeah,
saw
he
that.
He would say
The stuff that
things
he got was
would
crazy,
got, and
people.
It was nuts. But it happens, and honestly, I think it's well-intentioned people. They
Right.
just don't know what to say, and sometimes, like, if you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah,
Right.
that's-
But maybe we could look, lean in, listen in. This is the part you want to listen in because this is for you, listener. What would you say are some of the stuff that you shouldn't say that maybe people said to you, or things that stick out for you?
I must be surrounded by just an amazing group of people, because I rarely had anyone say anything that was just terrible. And if they did, listen,
let it go.
it's
Yeah.
you'd let it go. But there was one thing someone said to me, and it wasn't so much it was more of what may have caused it. And they said, and it was in reference to the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Mm-hmm. And I've read that book, and it's about how maybe you're too stressed, and you live a life and you're stressed out and you're uptight, and you hold that energy, and it causes illnesses like cancer.
Right.
And I got to tell you, we are only humans, and I mean, we can't live our lives just blissed out every second.
Right,
And
right.
and when I had cancer, I said,
Well, there are medical dispensaries that are.
Yeah. So you're saying stress caused cancer?
Right.
That-
Yeah, that's,
but
I mean,
but
heard
also
that,
I think saying, I even said, once I get through this, I'm not going to let small things bother me. But listen, life happens. It picks up right where it left off, and
right.
it's you've got a kid who won't do his homework, or somebody who won't take a shower. I mean,
Or there's socks on the floor.
or there's socks on the floor, and life happens, and it is just impossible
to stay
in this.
Nothing's gonna bother me.
Nothing's going to bother me. So I really think that's a dangerous thing to tell people, because it's almost impossible to do to live
right.
that way.
So life resumes its course.
Yes.
So you felt like this was a process where you had to attack it, and then over time, I mean, you've got a different. You certainly, I would think you would have like a pre-cancer Rebecca and a post-cancer.
Yeah, that's what I was
Rebecca
going to
on how
ask.
you look,
Yeah.
right?
Does it change your
Does it change
mentally
it?
or
Yeah.
anything like that?
I'm ahead of you, buddy. Don't you worry.
No, it really hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me,
It's probably good.
for me,
Murray liked you before.
Let's get Murray down. Let's ask Murray down.
I
You're
think
pre-cancer or post-cancer, Rebecca? He's saying no. He's saying no. He's
I think for me, there was probably a pre-sobriety, Rebecca.
Yeah. Well, there, yeah. for
And
sure.
and so those tools that I learned in sobriety have kept me.
I will tell you, Rebecca,
On a level.
the folks that I know that have gone through that journey
Right.
in that world of recovery are usually the most healthiest people. And I mean, now we're talking about doing real work. I mean,
Right.
we're talking about doing real work.
I know.
Not pink clouding it, not doing
Yeah.
a couple
That's where our
things.
from plate came
I mean,
from.
that's exactly right. When we had Jason Shinholster on, you can tell the ones that are like,
I know Jason.
yeah, he's a great dude.
They
man.
stared at the demon.
Yeah.
Well-
and they, but
Yeah.
the thing that I think about it is that you have looked yourself in the mirror and you've been the most honest that anyone has ever been. Self-awareness is something I think, like if I ever write a book, that's my first chapter. I mean, because it's the most important part of it is seeing yourself.
Well, and I think we have a saying, in the
that
in the
community.
rooms,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
they say,
yeah.
we've truly been to hell.
Yeah.
And back. So it's you are facing your demons.
Yeah.
So when I got cancer, it was more of
Probably
a
the
physical.
healthiest, probably the healthiest you've ever been mentally, right?
Right. I was working a program
Yeah.
and had for many years, and I wonder often what my cancer journey would have looked like had I
Oh,
not.
wow. Probably
That
the
is-
opposite. Yeah.
It would have.
Wow,
That is
that's a good
so
point.
'Cause you knew what
interesting.
you're
That
made
is a
of.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
also
is a
I had
great
the
point.
community and the support and the tools and a healthy coping mechanism, I think.
So talking about that support, what what not to say, and there's certainly things that we shouldn't say, and if you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all, right? Just say, I love you, I support you. I mean, I thought your answer when Brandon was talking about his back pain, because usually when he talks about his back pain, I'm usually like rolling my eyes and kind of like get over it. But you were doing probably the thing I should have said, which
Almost every 10 minutes,
yeah, I mean, right? I know, it's like, come on, Brandon.
That's all he
it's enough
talks about,
already.
yeah.
I know, like, relax.
How bad
already.
can it hurt, B?
I know, yeah, really. Like, don't
Come on.
chill out. No, but you had such this compassion and grace and all that, and that is such a great. But I think that's probably the reaction you want is when somebody tells you what they're going for. I mean, really, just either listen, tell them you're praying for them, and just. Is it worth saying, what can I do for you? Or is it better to say, like, just to do something for them? Like, I don't know in that world, because I know when we were dealing with her mom's cancer and people were saying they wanted to come help, it's like I don't have time to
You
tell
don't have
what's
time
going
to
on,
you don't
right?
have time to tell
to
someone.
manage your schedule on when you can bring me a casserole.
Right.
You know?
That's right. So I think, my husband would be the best person to answer
Yeah.
that. And I would say the person who is going through cancer, they are going to get so much help.
Yeah.
The person who needs the most help is the caregiver.
Interesting.
Yeah, the family or
Very
something.
interesting.
The
The husband,
immediate caregiver.
The immediate
Yeah.
caregiver, whether it's the husband or a mother or the wife, they are the one who needs the support. And and at the same time that I was going through my cancer, my husband was going through losing his mother to Alzheimer's, and she
word.
was in a facility here, just right down the street, and
my word.
with caregivers, and his sister was here, and it was really terrible. And he was dealing with that at the same time. But even if he hadn't been dealing with that, it would have been enough just to have taken
Dealing
care
with
of
that.
2 kids and me. Because when you think,
So Murray Balkcom will be on.
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah. So I would say the caregiver, first and foremost, is the person who needs the help.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean that is what a story. I mean, I'm not kidding, Murray.
That's pretty crazy.
You may be
yeah.
next.
Yeah.
Because that is crazy to go through that and to deal with these, being faced with, your journey, and then his mother, and the pain and the depths of that, and then still somehow soldiering up,
Yeah, he soldiered up. And when you think about it, it's not too unheard of because, our parents are older
Yeah,
because we're
right,
older.
Right, 100%.
But we also have young children.
Yeah, and that affects them.
Right. So you're dealing with all three generations at the same time. And of course life happens, and I don't think life stops just because I got cancer.
Well, it doesn't stop. You want it to, maybe.
Right.
I don't know, right? But it doesn't. Have you guys now, 3 years later, I mean, your children are a little older now. Have you guys talked about that and walked through that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
it's
what
not
that
even.
looks like. I don't
well, and I
know what
say
that
it's
would
3
look like,
years.
by the
It's
way.
not even really 3 years. Like I'm about to have my 1 year PET scan in June.
Okay.
And that will be a year after I finished chemo.
Okay.
Really a year and a half. So, but probably 3 years since the beginning
of the journey.
Right.
Okay.
No, I don't think we have, talked to the kids.
I don't know what that would look like. I don't know how that would look, what that conversation would look like, but
my inclination
probably worth it.
My inclination with them, I almost do the opposite with them that I do with myself. I want to shield them.
Shield.
But
they're seeing it. They're picking up on it. They're hearing it.
I guess I want them to just for their life to be as normal as possible and not have to talk about it or relive it.
Yeah.
But
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I do.
I just want normalcy for them. And that's what I wanted the whole time that I was going through that. But, it's not normal. And it's there no matter what.
I know.
So.
When we lost her dad so quick, I mean, again, 3 days before Christmas, and he's perfect health. And a blood clot went to his lung, gone. And in fact, they were supposed to take our daughters to the Nutcracker at the Fox when we were living in Atlanta then. And I mean, we had spent the night parties. It's Christmas time. All the kids were hanging out. Danielle's making waffles. And next thing you know, her mom's calling her, going, "Your dad's just been taken to the emergency room," and he was gone before he made it there.
Oh yeah.
And so we were headed over, and that just changed the game. We had a great community up there, and we had a lot of believers up there. And I was in a Bible study kind of workout group with some guys, and they all started showing up at the house. "What do you need?" And I was like, "Well, it's 3 days before Christmas. We didn't even wrap the kids' Christmas presents."
Right.
And so they took them all to a back room and just started wrapping our kids' Christmas presents.
So great.
And because I wanted Christmas canceled.
Right.
But my kids were so young, they didn't have it. And then her mother passed away. I think not quite 2 years later, but she passed away. And so we did a lot of like some counseling with our kids, and things of that nature. I mean, it's in their face, and how do you get through that and all that. So I just always often wonder, what does that look like? Because there's a lot of, they pick up so much more than we realize. Like you said, they knew something was wrong.
They do. And I guess, for me.
By the way, I'm not giving out advice. Understand?
It's
$10 podcast.
I had such severe PTSD after I finished treatment. Mm-hmm. It was almost from the day after my last treatment. It was just insane. But I knew what was happening. So I, went to a therapist. But for them, they seemed okay because I was okay.
Well, and that helps.
So I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to go there.
But your kids certainly better than I do, so I'm not telling you what to do.
Listen, I can tell you they would probably both benefit from therapy, just in general. They're teenagers. They're teenagers.
Just so you know, I told all my kids that I've got their first several therapy sessions are on me. And
because I caused probably some of that.
Right.
No perfect parent.
And in fact, if you need me to show up and apologize for anything, I'm there for that too.
Right. Well, and I'm such a proponent of therapy and asking for help, and obviously,
I just wonder what those conversations would be like, because I mean, you're handling it. I know the way that you guys are, you and your husband are so great, and you're aware of what's going on. But it's just when that drama hits a family, it's just tough, And that just, I didn't realize that your husband was losing his mother, and then you're going through this, and it seems like a lot going on.
It was a lot going on, and it was truly all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. His sister, who lives in Virginia, she came in. She was staying with us some. I mean, they were both really having to manage a crisis. Mm-hmm. It was his mother had late stage Alzheimer's, And I was going to chemo and doing,
Yeah.
we just did the best we could.
Does it seem like a whirlwind looking back then?
Yeah, it does. And
Like, how did you even manage, you know?
yeah, I think, I've got to say, I just think going back to when I got sober and learning how to do that, learning how to truly just do the next thing, put one foot in front of the other, don't get too far ahead.
Handle what you can handle.
Handle what I can handle, ask for help.
Clean up your side of the street.
Keep my side of the street
That's
clean,
right.
all those things. It was priceless.
Yeah.
It was almost like God knew that I was going to be faced with this, and then I got to have this amazing program.
Well, you know what's
as a
interesting about
roadmap.
What's interesting about that program? There's a program, and I don't know if you've heard of this, and you may have. Our listeners may not have heard it, so I'm not going to have you stop me if you've heard it. But it's called Celebrate Recovery. And
I have heard of it.
They place it in a lot of churches. It came out of Rick Warren up in Saddleback Church in California. But they just believe everybody has a hurt, habit, and hang up. So you could be codependent. You could be, you could have anxiety. You could have all these different things, right? And so they're like, hey, we're going to walk you through a 12-step program. It's the exact 12-step program that they walk everybody through for all the other stuff. So the only reason I'm bringing it is 12-step program is biblical, right?
Right.
And then the other thing is it works it works
In
if
so
you
many
work
ways.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we have a saying, it's not for those who want it. It's not for those who need it. It's for those who do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but a lot of people are like, gosh, I wish I had that program. But it is great that
they have it, and there's churches
Right.
down here I know on the coast that have it. And so if you're listening to this anywhere you are, and you're just thinking, man, I might want to get into it. It's not just for some and
for alcohol
or
Right.
heavy OxyContin or whatever. I mean, it's really though. The Celebrate Recovery is a very interesting spot, and I would tell you should go and check it out because that program works.
Yeah,
So
it sounds incredible.
Just Google the Celebrate Recovery, and you can find it anywhere in your area. What is some of the things that people can? We did ask that. You were saying really to look at the caregiver is out of sport.
Yeah,
on the
I do.
caregiver.
I
That's
think
how we went down the whole-
I made a
I'm
list.
ADD.
Yeah, well, and I made a list, thinking like, oh, what were some things people did for me? I mean, my gosh, I could write a book on everything that people did for me. But in hindsight, I would just say, look at the caregiver and see what they need.
What they need.
Maybe
you could take an appointment.
You help the
Or
kids.
just take them out. Let them take them out to dinner. Take them, take some of their tasks off their plate. Because the person who's going through cancer, they have got a team. They have got doctors, nurses. I mean, usually parents, friends. Everybody is swarmed around them, and the caregiver is sometimes left. They're taxed and maxed too.
Yeah, just exhausted. Yeah, I can only imagine, and they don't have the whole medical cannabis, so that's yeah.
Thank you, Florida.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
hey, because this has been such a serious one, we didn't do it the last time, but I want to do it this time. So now this is the time that I like to play.
Oh, we're lighting up a J?
We-
Oh, is that? Oh,
Yeah,
he's about to pull a J
yeah,
out.
bud. No, we
Play
This is a time we're going to play the Delve card game. This is DELVE Delve card. I'm going to do it this time. Here it goes. Here it goes. Yeah.
Where are you? We're waiting patiently for what you do.
Patiently.
Google Guru, he'll make it right. In a flash, he'll solve the fight. Oh man, he's good at poker, that's right.
So that's the Juice song. Although we're not Googling it. The Google's all behind the camera now in our
Yeah, I
control
know.
room. We've got our own
Feel
producer.
naked out here.
We've got a home producer now. But so Delve cards, DELVE Delve card. You can find them online. Go and check them out. I always say this: if you're a parent and you've got teenagers and they sit around the table and you say, "How's your day?" and they go, "It's okay." We use these cards with our teens. We sit them on the kitchen table, pull out these cards. They're incredible. Juice is going to pull out a card.
I feel like I pulled two out of what we've already pulled.
Yeah, that's all
So,
right. That's
it's
all
all
right.
right.
So Juice has got a Delve card. We're all going to answer it. We'll see the best we can. Go ahead, Juice.
What personality trait is most underrated? So what personality trait is most underrated?
Silence. I think sometimes silence can be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
That can be an underrated trait. I'd say the other one would be listening.
Listening definitely these days.
Yeah.
So,
Am I supposed to answer?
Oh, yeah.
It's open
Yeah,
to
I would
everybody.
say calm.
Yeah, that's a great
good
answer.
trait.
I mean,
That's a good trait. Yeah, that's a good trait. Somebody said, like, what do you got, Brandon? You got anything?
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection. That's a good
Yeah,
trait.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. Like I
that's a
tell,
good one.
self-awareness is the to me again. I
It's
said
the key
it.
to
It's the
success.
key. I mean, you can see it when you go to the grocery store and you like if you go to Publix right here at Grand Boulevard,
You can watch the characters.
If you're driving here, I tell you, drive through there. Right when you drive through there, like let's say you're going from like the Sam's Club towards like the craft bar area, and you're driving through there, and you watch the people that are crossing the street, and they know you're there. They know you're there. And it's like then all of a sudden they're slow walking. It's they've gone. They've slowed
Like
down.
you're walking faster and they slow
They
it
start
down.
On purpose.
sashaying.
On purpose.
Yeah. They know what it
so this
is.
leads to my answer: common sense. Common sense is mine. It's always been
it-
mine.
is
When
it-
I hired employees, they'd be like, "Common sense will get you everywhere in life."
Common
It's
sense.
a great first
But
step.
do you think everybody's born with common sense, or you?
No.
I mean, like,
No.
I feel like some people just
No,
don't
you
have
could
it,
be-
right. Some people just don't have it.
They don't.
Yeah, I mean, how you're raised honestly has a lot to
you
do
think
with
so?
it. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah. Like
you're raised in a
do you
bubble,
think-
you know.
Well, if you're raised in a bubble, yeah, right. If you're raised in a bubble, everything's done
Just
for
be
you,
aware of
sort
your
thing, right?
surroundings. It's
Yeah.
kind of like being aware of your surroundings leads to common sense almost. I feel like I don't know.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. No, it's just like a little icebreaker I like to throw in the Delve cards because sometimes we go in so deep and it's like we need to laugh.
Listen, I
levity.
would love to be one of those older people at Grand Boulevard who has all the time in the world and they just like take forever to cross the street.
yeah.
I mean, I look at them and I think that's my goal
You
someday.
made it, bro.
That's true.
I'll actually let it slide. An old person, it's normally somebody on their phone or
Oh,
just,
gotcha.
they're,
Okay.
you know,
You're totally right.
Group of teenagers.
like an old person. I'm not mad at them for being slow, but it's usually somebody on their phone.
Well, or if you're a driver down here, and I get it, you can see the license plates are from all over the place.
Yeah.
And you're a driver down here, and you kind of turning right. I mean, really, the quintessential worst is Sandestin, the circle on Sandestin,
Yeah.
right? Because you start in that circle, and you know they're going to like the wharf, right? And but then they want to turn left at the first pool, and then it's left at the tennis courts, and then it's left at the golf cart parking before the wharf, and then it's finally left in the wharf, and then they figure out they can't even turn there, and so it's like they don't know what they're doing, and you're just trying to get home.
yeah.
Right.
It's
I
like
just want to go home.
I know when I moved outside of Sandusky, and I moved behind there on the point, and somebody goes, "Oh, it's going to take you forever to get out of there." I was like, "Have you ever been behind a golf cart in Sandusky?"
Yeah.
Right.
Good luck. 20 minutes getting out
like
of here.
20 minutes, to get out of there sometimes.
Just to get to the
yeah.
highway. Just to
Yeah.
get to the
Yeah,
road.
I have some good friends who live in Sandestin, and 3 or 4 good friends, and I always feel claustrophobic when I'm driving to their house. I'm like, I'm never going to get there,
Right.
and I'm never
Right.
going to get out of here.
Right.
Because you got to go 20 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
I'm like, I feel trapped.
Yeah, no, I know
that's
it
true.
it is weird, and I don't want to. By the way, all the Sandestin folks, we love you. I mean,
I'm going to say
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a vote.
Brandon,
Yeah,
I've
I
been
love
there for 11
Sandestin.
years. It's like 22,
But I-
22 restaurants you get by golf cart.
I
and
totally
movie theaters
understand
and all
that.
this stuff.
It
It's great.
just, once I get off the highway, I'm like, I'll be home in 6 minutes. But my house is right there.
Well,
Right.
They want you to not leave the compound.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It is. Don't leave.
Don't leave the
They
island.
tunneled under 98.
They,
so
you never have to leave. Your grocery store, your bank,
That's right.
everything's there.
No,
The
Yeah.
hospital is there.
The
You can get the
hospital, you
hospital
get
on
the
a golf
hospital
cart.
by golf cart.
Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of how Watersound Origins is becoming
that's what
like
I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah,
It's exactly what
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's
becoming.
kind of like
exactly
the
right.
new Sandestin.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So now we're going to get back onto it. How did your prayer life affect your journey? Like when you were what how did that go? I mean, were you praying? Because you hear like, pray without ceasing, or something like that. I mean, were you praying less or more when this happened? Or?
Well, no, but it's interesting because my best friend, when I got the diagnosis, it just changes everything you think about your spiritual path. It really makes you face that in a different way. And my best friend, we've been friends since kindergarten, and we still talk every day. And she said, well, you know what they always say, there are no atheists in the foxhole. and not that,
Yeah.
I'm not an atheist, but
Right.
meaning when you're really faced to the
Yeah.
fire, you look at things differently.
That's when you pray more, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's not that I prayed harder. I didn't pray for outcomes. I prayed for peace, no matter what the outcome was.
Very interesting.
Because
That's
Very
really,
interesting.
I like that.
That is actually very interesting.
I like that because we're taught kind of to pray for outcomes.
I guess,
But I pray for wisdom. Like, let me figure this thing out. I don't have the answer, so
right.
But,
And
but the peace thing is with wisdom.
yeah, and I think for me, I felt like I wasn't in control, and I felt like it was whatever God wanted was the way it was going to be. And I couldn't maybe change that, but I wanted whatever God's will was, I just wanted his peace
Yeah.
through that. What did change for me is my belief in prayer. And when, people say, will you pray for me? Or I'm praying for you. I always thought, yeah, I'm going to pray for this person. I could literally feel the collective prayers.
You can. I know that.
When people were praying for me,
Absolutely.
I could feel it. And I've never felt anything
That's
like
amazing.
that. And
I agree.
it changed what
That's
I
amazing.
thought about prayer.
Yeah. No, Monica, when Brooks and Monica were on the show talking about their son, and you had said you watched
Yeah.
it, she talked about, like, she wrote a book, and it was like the Lamentations of a Mother.
Yeah, I want to read that.
It's good. I've got one, and I'll try to get it to you. I'll try to
Okay.
get you a copy. It's really just her prayers through this process. And but she talks about these just really dark spaces, but the things that pulled it out of her, she realized at some point it was the prayers of her friends and her loved ones that pulled her out of this grief zone and this thing. And she didn't know it at the time what it was until she kind of came out of it. It was like, oh my gosh, she
That's
felt
what-
the prayers,
You
Yeah.
feel the prayers. It's incredible. And I think, we're so busy in our lives, and even, if you go to church, whatever, it becomes kind of abstract. And I guess what I'm saying is it was not abstract
I
for
love
me.
what you said is
It became
no
real.
atheist.
Real.
It was real.
Well, I know what you said, that there's no atheist in the foxhole. I never heard that. But
I
think
like
that's
it.
very-
You never heard that, dude? Yeah.
I've never heard that.
I love that saying. That's so
When
true.
I was doing church in downtown Atlanta, and we had a heavy population of homeless around us, but I always felt like, the American church, which, look, God bless you all that go to church in America. I'm not upset about it. I get it. We are so we need attention, we need entertainment. Our extension spans are so short. So if you go to church that has lights and fog machines and all that, I'm not knocking you. I'm not knocking you. I get it. You need entertainment, and I'm not saying Jesus needs to be the entertainment, but maybe they're casting the net out wide and then coming in, and getting deep, right? So I'm okay with that, but we've got coffee shops in every church, it feels like, and donuts and all this, and so some days it feels like a country club and not really a church, where if you go to other countries, it's entirely different in how they are, and again, I'm not knocking what that is. I just think that we get so insulated in our faith in America. And so when I was doing this church in downtown Atlanta, though, and you would talk with the homeless there, and they would talk about angels and demons, and you could easily be like, this guy's crazy. But I think when you're not insulated and you're hanging on to the last rung,
Right.
and you strip it all away, you start seeing the kind of the underbelly of spiritual light and darkness.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And so it's very interesting in that world, and it kind of hits that way when you strip away my facade of this perfect life.
Yeah.
And then you get your kind of bell rung with something like this.
Right.
You start seeing prayer in a different way.
You do.
You feel prayer in a different way.
I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I think it's part of, it's a divine gift. I mean, it really, when people come together and collectively with the intention, ask God for something, for someone. My husband's office manager had an entire, some people in another country, like hundreds of people in a somewhere in Africa praying for me.
It's amazing.
That's amazing. And it's amazing, that she would do that and that they would do that. And when people come together, and I know this from being in the rooms, you come together and you are asking for something, you're trying to make yourself better. There's magic that happens. I really believe that.
It's your pleas and requests and prayers. I mean, we just did that in poker for my birthday. They all surprised me, and the guys they decided to cook for me, for which is unusual and is beautiful. And they did ribs and they did all these things. So we're going to pray, which I thought was typically unusual for us in poker.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
I love
it's like the oldest poker game in the Emerald
Come a long
Coast.
ways.
Comes a long way. But so we prayed, and I was telling the guys that prayer. I've got older kids that are starting to make decisions that are outside of me, that I have no control over, that can very well shape the trajectory of their lives. And so I've been praying a little bit more. And I just said prayers is so important, and leaning into prayer is so important. And that prayer individually, I think, is beautiful because you can renew your mind, you can shape your thoughts, you can organize what you're trying to do. And prayer amongst a few is important. Jesus says, where there are two or more in my name, there I am also. And I think that can be a beautiful thing. But then when you're corporately, like a big group of poker buddies, it can be unique because they get to eavesdrop on my pleas directly with the Savior. And that when you say bow your head, close your eyes, the idea is that you're opening your heart to what's being lifted up, right? And so there can be a drastic movement and shift in people's hearts in prayer.
Yeah.
So prayer is so unique and so important. I also want to throw up scripture. Daniel, do we have a scripture? Yeah, so I thought about this with you. This is John 16:33, where Jesus says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. And I've always loved that verse just because we're not going to it's not going to be perfect down here.
Right.
He told us it's not right there.
Well, I had a pastor one time that told me, said, told everybody. I mean, he was talking directly to me the time. But he said, there's either three stages of life, right? You're either in a problem, coming out of a problem, or going into a problem. Right.
That's how you deal with it.
Right. So knowing, though, that Jesus says that, hey, but take heart in me.
Right.
I've overcome the world. And so it's interesting that you kind of leaned, and I do think that makes a lot of sense.
But I'll also say, I do want to back up just a second and say, don't get me wrong. When I was very, very sick, I definitely prayed to God, please don't let me die. Even though maybe I felt like I had no control over that, but, I prayed for my life.
I think you should.
Right.
Right? I mean, you should ask God for anything.
Right. I just don't know if I believe that. And I know a lot of people, I have friends who believe in the prosperity gospel, you pray for $1 million and you pray for whatever. I
prayed for it before.
Yeah, well, maybe I need to. Maybe I need to.
Didn't really work out the way as I always wanted. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I need to. I guess I'm just afraid to ask for too much.
I don't think asking God for anything is there. I think you need to prepare the idea, though, that God's not going to give you everything.
Right. Or give it to you in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, I am a big proponent, and look, first off, let me put the caveat here is that I'm a $10 podcast. Because the thing is there's a lot of us out there that will tell you the mind of God, and then people for thousands and thousands and thousands of years have tried to understand the mind of God. We have a Bible with 66 books, I think, in it. Some people have 70 something books, depending on what part of the faith you're in. It's written over like 4,000 years in two different country or languages, and so you have to really trying to understand that is so hard. So I don't think God cares about who wins a football game.
Right.
And I don't think God cares but I know God cares about everybody that's playing the football game. Everybody's watching the football game, right? And so I think it's okay. I think that's just part of our maturity as Christians. And you honestly, you're probably way more mature than I am as a Christian. So I mean, it's just, I think that's the thing, right? Is like, I think it's okay to ask God everything. I think you just got to understand.
He's not going to give you it all.
You're not getting it all.
A lot of stuff's not good for you.
Yeah, right.
Well, right, and I guess I think from my experience, things in the past that I thought I wanted were not what I needed.
Yeah, well,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so I feel like I don't know what's best for me.
I think that's actually really good.
God knows.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what's, yeah.
And so things that I thought I had to have and my life is going to end if I don't get this, it was not supposed to be for me. And so I don't know.
So I was on somebody's pod the other day, and he was interviewing me. And I don't know when it comes out. I mean, nobody
Rogan?
Who's Joe. And so, but he had like a question, I guess, that he asked at the end, and it wasn't a rapid question thing, but he asked, and it's kind of like, what superpower do you want to have? And what's funny is we had just done some of our questions, and I think I just asked somebody like, what?
Yeah,
what
flying.
Like,
Somebody said flying, I think. Yeah.
And I told him, I said, that seems to be when I ask it on my show, flying. I said, but I want to be able to kind of see around the curvature of the earth. Like, I want to see the future. That's the superpower I'd want. I'd want to be able to see the future. But it's interesting because what you were saying is that God sees, like, kind of what you're saying is God sees the future.
Right.
And He knows what's best for you.
So just trust that.
I feel like,
lean into that.
I think one of the things we were talking about is like, what would you say to yourself? Your 25-year-old self.
Yeah.
And
that's one of my next questions.
Oh.
But let's go ahead and answer it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking.
He's watching. She watches.
I watch. I was thinking a lot about that, and I thought, would I tell myself not to do this or to do that? And if I told myself to do things differently, that means I might not be where I am today, having learned the things I've learned, which have been important to get me through the things. And, I kind of think we're right where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And we're kind of placed in certain places at certain times to learn the things that we need to learn. Well,
Danielle, in fact,
I don't know.
You could Google, there's a scripture, and I don't know why I'm thinking it's in Peter, but I could be totally wrong, and it's I'm going to paraphrase it, and maybe you can find it and throw it up on the screen, but it was, it's really take heart in trials. Take heart in your trials, because in the trials, you're made, that's kind of like where you're forged.
It's giving me John 16:33.
That's not it. That's not it. It's not John 16:33.
That's the one you just read, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
it was, but it is kind of like I'm losing it. I used to have all this Bible knowledge and trivia, but
well, I do not.
it's getting old. I'm getting older, and I'm losing some of it. So I need to go back to. I was back in the days when you'd hold the Bible like this, and they have the Bible club, and they say, go to John 3:16. John 3:16.
Right.
God so loved the world.
Well, my husband grew up Southern Baptist.
I did too.
So we
all have so much in common.
Yeah.
Those were called sword drills back in the day.
Sword drills.
Sword drills.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Sword
grew up
drills,
Methodist,
that's
so
right.
we
Yeah.
we weren't taxed with that. But
y'all were like Catholic light, right?
right. But I don't know. I do think what if what you went through maybe at some point when you were 25, if you wish that away or you wish you'd done something different, maybe I wouldn't have the kids I have today or my husband. It's hard to look back and want to change things, know?
No, I think that's just it. Yeah, I think you're right. That's probably.
I mean, I don't want pain,
but it is a tough question to answer when you're trying to look back. I think there's probably some things that I like to soften. The idea I think with the question too is just like, is there a way that you could soften the journey for the next person? But I think the lesson maybe in the story is that take joy.
Take joy
in all
the little
of it, in
right.
all of it. To take joy in all of it. In fact, Danielle, I think that might be what it. If you Google that, but it's like take joy in all of it.
Yeah.
You know, in all the pain, and all the suffering, and all the stuff. You know, because that's what's going to make you better. So, looking back at your journey of this cancer journey, what are some of the greatest lessons you think you came from? We'll kind of wrap it up with that question.
Oh, sure. The greatest lessons, I think, is giving other people grace, and knowing that just because you're going through something, other people are going through things too at the same time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, life doesn't stop just because you have cancer. So there may be some people who can't show up for you in certain ways. I think giving people grace, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Can't take it personally. Yeah.
Right. You can't take anything personally, and people are going to react. I think I learned, you know how they say when someone loses a child or they lose a family member and they grieve differently. I think people also respond as, you know, loving friends or caring about someone who is going through something. Everybody responds differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, not to expect people to respond the same way. But yeah, I also would mention one thing I wish that I had done while I was going through cancer and not waiting until after, is maybe going to a therapist during. You know, of course, that is so low on the totem pole.
I'd say it's probably not even common. Like, I never even thought of that.
You know, what's interesting is at the cancer center, they have a therapist on staff walking around.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's walking around while you're having chemo, and you are completely out of it.
And Benadryl.
On Benadryl. And I see her, and I think, oh, I need to make sure I say something to her. I would love to talk to her. And I mean, that person is so not in the right place at the right time. But I think tending to your mental and emotional health at the same time while you're going through that would be something I wish that I'd done.
The thing on therapy too is that I think the problem is it's almost like the foxhole mentality. When we want a therapist when we need a therapist.
Right.
Really, you know, if you're listening to this as a young person, get a therapist now while you're healthy and things are good. And when I marry couples, I always tell them, set a date for a therapist session like 3 months to 6 months out.
Right.
Just set it. Because what happens is you're going to be at each other some point down the line so bad, like cats and dogs, and then somebody's going to say, let's go to therapy, and you're going to be like, well, what? I ain't me, ain't me. You know,
I mean, it's you.
But if you were to just set something out 3 to 6 months out, and then you follow up and you set that one out, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once every other month, whatever it is, you just have it. And so it's not like because something's wrong, although you may go into it with something wrong.
Right.
But at least you have a date set. And I always think it's super important to do that sort of thing. So,
well, and I think the other thing I wanted to mention was, you know, just finding the normalcy and joy in small moments, even while you're going through, you know, chemo or the cancer or the crisis, carving out moments of joy and not thinking that you have to wait until it's all over to once again experience joy.
Yep. Danielle, Google Romans 5:3-5. Because we're going to throw.
Murray could probably help you with this too.
We're going to end on this one. Did you know it's Romans 3?
Romans 5:3-5.
It's 5:3-5. If you can get a screenshot of that or something, I'm going to give it a second while we're talking about this because I'm going to go. We're going to end on that. I want to show Romans. It took me a second to find it, but I found it on my phone. But I do have a question that did come in. This is kind of this deep. So we do
the $10 podcast Gmail.
So we have a $10 podcast at gmail.com. Listeners, $10. That's the number 10$podcast@gmail.com. You can send in your question to it. The jabronis will answer your question.
Here we go.
So,
Yeah.
That.
so
You got too much. You got her doing too much
I
stuff
do,
over there,
I do.
dude.
Hey, throw
You know,
throw
I'm
her
gonna.
out. There we go. There she is. She got it. She is. She's
I
like
know.
a
She
one-man band.
you over there
She's
googling up the
producing everything.
verse.
She's crushing
Yeah,
it. She's
yeah.
looking up a verse. I got her doing everything else.
I think it's
should've-
been 10 episodes. She'll have it dialed
I should
in,
just
dude.
throw it on the wide.
Yeah.
I can't figure out how to get to it.
Don't worry. I'll read it. I'll throw it up on the screen later in post editing. We're good. So Romans 3-5, the English Standard Version. But I'm gonna first answer this. We're gonna go to $10 podcast. We're gonna ask. This
Okay,
question.
that's good.
All right. So $10podcast@gmail.com. You can and look, the jabronis will help you. You're an honorary jabroni.
Oh,
You're a
Jabroni.
good. Do I get a
So-
T-shirt and a hat?
We don't have those yet.
What's the merch?
There's your hat right there. You take that, put that on.
Okay. Oh no,
Oh,
no.
you said okay. No, put it on.
So somebody sent this in, said, I am struggling to pay my bills. Dear jabronis, I am struggling to pay my bills, and I have debt up to my eyeballs. I have no clue
Sounds like the
of
commercial.
a strategy to move forward. What would you recommend? So that's a good one.
It's a lot to unpack
It's a
there,
lot
yeah.
to unpack there. I don't know the age and stage of this particular person, but what I would tell you is that traditionally, this is just some advice from me. And again, just $10 podcast, take it for what you want. But you did ask us.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say is that when you find yourself in that debt, number one, stop spending on anything but necessities.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Clothing,
mean necessity-
shelter, and food.
Yep.
That's
Cut
it.
the cable.
Yeah.
Eating out. Why are you
Right,
doing it?
Right. Cut
Eat a bologna
everything down,
sandwich
right.
at home.
You need to what they call go to the mattresses here.
Just
okay, if it's going to
change
feel
some
like
habits.
that,
Godfather.
Yeah. God,
Yeah.
there you go. Godfather reference. Go to the mattress. But you need to cut everything that you possibly can. And I mean, when I'm talking about this, you got to look at. You need to look at what are you spending on apps?
Yeah,
What are,
Netflix.
all the Netflix, all these things. And I know you want peace. I know you want all that stuff. Look, I'm not saying you can't watch something, right? But you probably have like 20 different. It's weird when I talk to folks that say like I don't know what I'm doing, and you're going, well, you have 30 different subscriptions that you're doing.
Which
and
they have an
videos
app
or
for
whatever.
that, right?
Yeah, they do.
Tells
They're hard to
you
kill that stuff.
for all your subscriptions in one
That's right.
place. Yeah,
That's right. But I would tell you to get like Brandon just said. What did you say? Clothing,
Shelter, food,
yeah,
and literally those two things are what you need.
right.
Everything else, and when I say food, you don't need to eat.
Yeah, not Uber Eats. Yeah, just-
Right. You don't. If you're ordering somebody, they're
bologna
bringing it
sandwich.
to your door.
Yeah,
you
that's
can do
not-
it cheaper. So you didn't get there overnight.
No.
It's some bad decisions, some habits you got.
Yeah.
You got to start breaking some habits.
That's exactly.
So you only do that by kind of scaling everything back. Write down everything you spend on a piece of paper for a moment.
Yeah.
It will blow you away.
That's right.
How much you're leaking.
That's great.
money.
Yeah. That's
You
great advice, Brandon.
We
That's
leak
great advice.
money in this
Yeah.
culture.
Well, and what
And-
I would
and-
say is once you start doing that, you will find the ability to save something. Now, what
And
I'm
cut
telling
things.
what I'm telling you is when you get to that point of saving something, and this is something I think I'm not a big fan of Dave Ramsey necessarily, but I do think this is something he does well. You've got debt. Find the percentage, the credit card, the thing, the house, whatever it is, and whatever extra you have, you're throwing it to the highest percentage first. And you want to focus on that first and then go to the next thing till you get that debt down.
Or just pick one and kill it. Kill one dragon at a time.
That's,
Yeah.
that's,
And then
that's
you get
what I mean.
momentum.
Well, that's what I mean.
You get the momentum.
Pick the dragon
Kill
that
it.
has the biggest interest rate.
Slay it.
Slay that one.
And
then
then
you go to the
next.
one. It's very rarely is your house if you have a mortgage.
No, the house
it's
is the
usually,
last thing.
It's usually a credit card, a high interest rate credit card,
And
or
medical
something
bills,
like that. Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
it's student loans.
Slay those
but
things first.
Get rid
yeah.
of the plastic.
Yeah.
So quit putting money on a plastic thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it doesn't see it. That's a Ramsey thing, but it doesn't seem like real money.
Which that's part of the things I'm not certain. I don't
Yeah.
want to get into Dave Ramsey. I'm not certain that I agree to everything he says, but I do think that
Take
when
the
you're
good.
in this situation, that's a very good thing. Slay that the highest interest rate dragon first. So again, go to the mattresses.
Maybe refinance it. Yeah, maybe see if you can.
Those things are possible, but
it depends on where you're at.
First, you've got to figure out how do I live in my means, right? So you've got to get to the go to the mattresses.
Spending more than you make.
Yeah.
That's how you get there.
Yeah, but look, I don't want to fault this particular person sending in, and I'll tell you why. Because we have designed, this entire country is designed to spend more than you make.
Yeah, in our area in particular, rough.
You are in. Look, it's not. I don't want to say it's not your fault, but the deck was stacked against you. I mean, you think about it in college. I mean, did they do this? I know they did this at UT. They got you guys all the time, but they used to do this at Georgia, where you get a free T-shirt and you get an 18% interest card with a Georgia G on it.
Yeah.
Did you have the UT?
No,
cards?
we didn't. I didn't have
They gave
that.
out everything on my.
It's probably because I'm older.
At Georgia, you'd walk down in Sanford Stadium. It was like, here, sign up this. And you're like, oh, wow, free Georgia T-shirt? Heck yeah. And you're going to give me a $500 credit card?
I'll spend that tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
I get out of this college, I'm going to be making money, so I just rack it up right now.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So that's what I would encourage you to do.
Find some side hustles, generate some more revenue.
Yeah.
Uber.
Yeah. Well,
Uber some stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So, Rebecca, it has been an absolute honor.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. It was so fun.
Do you need to plug the jewelry though? Do you sell it? She makes the jewelry. Are you selling it?
Right?
Well, I just started making this jewelry using my bandanas, my cancer bandanas that friends sent me.
Oh, really? Nice.
So I'm using, what I have left and just kind of putting it together.
Are you doing like Etsy thing? Or
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But you will though for $500.
Maybe.
We'll sell the necklace.
Well, first I want to send to I want to send to my best girlfriends who
are there
sent
with
me.
you.
Yeah, sent me
That's
the
so cool.
That
is really cool.
Awesome,
that is beautiful.
So
Thank
it's cool.
you.
Well, I'm glad we pointed that out. I mean, Juice picked up on it.
Well,
I
we
guess
were.
I didn't hear it.
Well,
so.
it's
all
because
good.
I told him when we sat down, I said,
trying
please
to- I was
don't
trying
let
to
the
get the mic,
mic cover up my
No, that's great. No, they look so good.
Listen, I just have fun making things.
That's wonderful.
So I just like
I love to create as well. Not necklaces though. But it really has been an honor to have you on.
It's been so
This
nice.
season we have had more female presence than we ever had first season. I'm so thankful for it.
Thank
because
you for having
I
me.
love to hear that other side of it, but I love to hear that your journey and your story and how the people around you and your faith really propelled you through. And so this is the part that I'm going to say, listen up, kids, but I'm going to really do it totally different because I do want to read this. This was Romans 5:3-5, and it's the English Standard Version. It says, not only that, it says, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. And so I don't know any other better way to walk through life. Life's going to come at you 1,000 different ways, but lean into it. Ask for help. Give grace to others. You'll be better for it. I mean, or don't. I mean, what the hell do I know?
What the hell do I know? I'm just JB, middle-aged dad with ADD. Candid combos, jokes so lame, jabronis pulling a poker face. Just a couple of dudes with ADD. What the hell do I know? With JB.